Are you ashamed to admit that you struggle at times? That you struggle maybe with your weight? You struggle with depression? You struggle with self-worth? See, everybody struggles with something. I also struggle. People are like, you can't struggle. You're like the leader of a ministry. Oh, trust me, I struggle big time. And I'm under attack probably more than most because I am the leader. With that said, you are not alone.
Right here, Rick Smith, Rock Bottom Outreach, brother. Glad you're here, man. This is awesome. I told Rick this earlier that I talk about I'm glad Capernaum Studios and Peaster ISD is doing this event today, and it gives me a chance to actually bring small town America there. But I wouldn't be doing this show without you. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm not going to get emotional.
Yeah, because I'm kind of anxious to hear that too.
I'm not going to get emotional.
Know the why.
But just as I was telling Justin, God, there's no freak things. God does things for a reason. And so I'm an IFOC chaplain with Dave over there, who's part of your mentoring program.
Sure.
A couple of years ago, I'm struggling. I'm at my rock bottom, and he hands me a card. And that Rock Bottom Outreach logo is just popping. I'm like, what is this? I got to go check it out. And I go and I pop up that video on his website. I'm thinking, wow, I got to go check out this guy. So I pull up Rick's story. And I see Rick's story, and I'm thinking, man, this guy is a real person. And he's going through the same battles and problems and things that I go to. So then I have to friend him on Facebook. And you do your real talk.
Right.
And for like a week, your real talk was me. And I'm thinking, man, this guy is there. Who is he talking to? Because he is like every day. And it was what I needed to get me from hitting that. I was tiptoeing on the rocks, just trying to keep my head above water. So thank you, brother. You know, it's something that COVID was a terrible, terrible thing. I don't want to discredit it in any way, but it also, the way God takes evil and makes it good, he opened up in what I call spiritual entrepreneurs. Paul called them apostles. Right. And brother, that's what you are. You're spreading the good news out into the world, just those little daily talks that you do, man. So thank you.
But, you know, and it came from, you know, I was a coach at Gainesville Youth Prison. Mm-hmm. And the kids all the time said, Coach, real talk. And of course, I'm like, you know, what is that? And they're like, Coach, it's real transparent conversation. And so when Rock Bottom Outreach was born out of 2009, 2010, when I hear Rock Bottom, it was, you know, God tells us to be authentic and transparent with one another. And so that became the motto, you know, is real talk in the real world. And so the little videos, you know, came. And, you know, the scripture that we utilize is it's good that I've been afflicted because I've learned your ways. And so when you're going through something, you're like, man, how can that be good? And at the time, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good, but God's at work. Right. And that was mine, you know, kind of like you.
Right.
My affliction, your affliction. And it is great that, you know, we're surrounded with celebrities and stuff like that. But how many of us can really relate to a celebrity a lot of times? So what's big for us is, you know, I have done very well as a coach, but I'm not a celebrity. It's real people.
Well, and
going through real stuff.
Yeah. Right. And I think it's one of those things because also just being men.
Yeah.
You know, we're programmed to be that alpha male. Hey, our pride factor. So not only do we have the depression, the anxiety, the stress, now I've got my pride. Who do I share? Who do I vent it to? Where do I release it? So it just continues to build up inside you. And in your case, my case, painkillers, those type, alcohol, drugs, those addictions start kicking in. And you don't think, hey, well, I'm not going to share that because I got too much pride.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just telling you, when you give real talk and just say, hey, here's the situation. This is what I'm going through. Yeah, you're on your personal journey now, and we're following you with that. And that takes a lot to get up there and say, hey, here I am. I'm a real person. I'm a real sinner. So, but here I am, and this is what I'm doing.
And it's funny how we think, man, if anybody knew I sinned, they'd be ashamed of me.
Yeah.
But to know only Jesus was the one without sin. Everybody else sinned. We all struggle and fall short of the glory of God. And we need to be more transparent about that and understanding that there's people that you can be a little vulnerable with, others you can be completely. There's another group you really can't be vulnerable with. So you got to
Right.
be careful who you do share with.
Right.
But it's important that we don't keep things to ourselves, that we find someone that we can be somewhat vulnerable to that relates to where we're coming from. And that's what we're about at Rock Bottom Outreach.
Actually, and I'm going to show this little clip. If y'all want to see, and I encourage everybody, go to Rock Bottom Outreach or look up Rick.
Hey, it's Rick with the Rock Bottom Outreach, and this real talk goes to my little grandson Brock because he told me he watches all the videos. Did not know that, and so folks, your grandkids or your little kids may be watching your TikTok videos. So think about the content that you put on there. Just keeping it real with you. But I told him, I said, I'm going to do real talk on Balaam's donkey. You know, Balaam in the Bible, in the book of Numbers. And, of course, he's real intrigued with that. And so I told him I would tell the story because it's a funny story, but it's a true story. And it has to do with our own spiritual blindness. You know, we talk about struggling sometimes, and we're struggling because God has given us the answer, but we're struggling because we want a different answer. But if we surrender to doing what God wants us to do, then he doesn't have to use extravagant measures to get our attention, i.e. the talking donkey. So it says, Balaam got up in the morning, he saddled his donkey, and he went with the Moabite officials. But God was very angry when he went. The angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Okay, now see, Balaam can't see the angel, but that donkey can. Okay, so Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with the drawn sword in his hand, he turned off the road into the field. Balaam beat that donkey to get back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path through the vineyards with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord again, okay, and it said when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, he laid down under Balaam, and he was so angry that Balaam is beating that donkey again. He's like, man, what are you doing, you stupid donkey? But again, the donkey can see what Balaam cannot see. And so it continues. And it says, then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and he said to Balaam, the donkey said, he said, what have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times? Balaam answered the donkey, you made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would have killed you right here. The donkey said to Balaam, and I'm not your donkey, which you've always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing craziness? He said, no. He said, then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed down, and he fell face down. And so obviously, you know, the angel's like, man, why do you keep beating your donkey? And so a lot of times God will use certain situations to get our attention. It could be a talking donkey. I don't know. But again, if you're struggling with something, tap out, give God what he wants. You can breathe again. Watch those.
Yeah, I wanted to show y'all that. I wanted to show you that because, I mean, you do those, every day? You throw just like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But just as he said in the front of that, his grandkids pointed that out to him. And, you know, one of the things right now with all this social media, here we are, we're broadcasting live in front of 3 different channels. We're here with y'all. If it's not inspiring, motivational, or educational, then why are we even watching it or messing with it? There is so much out there the media wants you to see. There's so much the Hollywood wants you to do. But, man, that's just 3 minutes that is planting a seed or making you stop and think. How many donkeys do we have in our lives every day that we'd rather complain about them being a donkey instead of really listening to what they're trying to tell us?
Yeah, you know, and God, he tries to get our attention. I know with me, and you have to understand, a lot of times you're struggling with something. And if you'll just tap out to say, God, I give up, it won't be nearly as painful. You don't all have to go to rock bottom, but he wants you to tap out at some point. You know, All to you, I surrender. That's tapping out. That's what we're talking about. And so it's called a struggle because you're wrestling with it still and you're struggling with it. And so whatever you're struggling with today, man, if you'll tap out and give it to God, you know, like Justin said, you know, I'm doing a daily journey, you know, with what I'm going through.
Right.
And I could struggle with myself and try to inspire the world along with that, because there's somebody else here today, maybe that's struggling with an illness like I am, and they need to know, hey, you're not alone, because no one likes to hear someone complain about being ill.
Right.
But you're not alone. And so
Right.
trying to use that as well.
Right, right. And I just popped that up there. So weatherfordchristian.com, you can go to the shop. They're doing a fundraiser, the Cowboy Up shirts, the Rick Smith Cowboy Up shirts.
Yes, sir.
So if anybody interested in that, do you just kind of want to explain what you're going through? Because you're sharing the journey with us, and we want to be there with you.
Well, back in 2008, when I hit rock bottom, I suffered congestive heart failure. And they kind of sat me down and said, you probably won't grow old. And it was called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. And so in 2010, they actually had to put in a pacemaker and a defibrillator. And so it's called the ejection fraction, which 60 is good. And mine is plummeted all the way down to 10. And so basically my heart's not working anymore. It's going off of the medication, but it's not working anymore with the medication. So they've sent me to UT Southwestern to the transplant division. And so that is what is next. They're doing all the testing now to get me on the transplant list so that I can get a new heart. And so, man, I am dependent right now on Christ alone. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
The tricks I used to use don't work. The medication's not working. I'm going to keep sharing the gospel till obviously God calls me home. But, you know, again, trying to encourage somebody else that's going through something as well, man. And Zach, I appreciate you sharing. That means a lot to me, and it really does. So anyway, with the medical expenses, if y'all wondering, a new heart is about $1.5 million now. If y'all are shopping for one, just so y'all know. So I'm $1.5 million short right now. Hoping they got a Groupon.
Yeah. You know, but like I said, we're following along with you. Just go Rick Smith, Rock Bottom Outreach, and follow along, because you're doing the daily journey, and we're walking right with you. We're praying with you, and we're going to be right there with you the whole time, brother.
Right.
I thank you for coming to Small Town America.
And I
Thank you
appreciate
for doing it.
Thank you.
I know that one. I'm
Thank
going to
y'all
bring
for
on
having me.
another one, guy. We're going to get ready. We're going to bring T.